We'll start recording, and it looks like we're already recording now, but she'll edit this part out, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say. Just see it.
All right. Um, awesome. Well, good afternoon, Octavia. I am so glad that you are able to join me today. We have been connecting throughout the month of February with different business owners, specifically business owners of color. So, wanted to have an opportunity to chat with you for a bit, learn a little bit more about your business and what you're doing out there to educate the Black community. So, if you would please start out by sharing a little bit about yourself and Arthur Realty, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. A little bit about Arthur Realty. So, it is a full service real estate and property management firm. We're actually located here in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we service North and South Carolina within an hour radius of Charlotte.
Awesome. So, how long have you been a realtor?
I have been a realtor full time now for 7 years.
That's
Yeah.
a long
So,
time. Good time.
yeah, a really long time. So, I came in on the cusp of the buyer's market ending.
Good times for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a good time for my buyers at the time. So of course, some major shifts and adjustments for them right now. But yeah, I've been in the real estate business full time for 7 years, and I branched out and opened up my own company in 2019.
And how have you been working specifically with our community? And what are some things that you've done to kind of consistently grow your business throughout the years?
So, really, what I've been focusing on doing is I do buyer workshops. Of course, have a lot of one-on-ones with people that call. I think the biggest thing for us within our community is the education piece. I have so many people that just don't know where to start. So within those buyer workshops that I do, as well as when I do like my one-on-one counseling, I really try to focus on what it is that they need to do in order to get to them to where they're trying to be. So those are the biggest things that I've been kind of working on. Credit, of course, is the biggest thing. Savings, a lot of questions regarding that because I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. Some people that are really just afraid because they don't know where to start. And you kind of know how that is. When it's something that you've never done before, there's always that fear factor. So I really just try to work on overcoming that by providing them as much information as I possibly can regarding the process.
That's awesome. And yes, I've definitely dealt with some of that. And of course, in my arena in estate planning, it is a huge unknown for our community, and the education piece is key. And a lot of them really think that, or a lot of us, I should say, not them, really think that doing estate planning or buying a house is something that people of certain calibers do, or that you have to reach a certain level or have a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of deal with similar things, and maybe even similar challenges. So can you walk me through some of the challenges that you've encountered in trying to educate our community and some of the things that you've actually done to successfully overcome that?
Oh, wow. So the challenges just come from uh, not even knowing, I guess, credit, understanding credit, even knowing how to check credit, which really is the first step. Like I tell people, I said, you always need to know where you stand credit wise. So you need to check your credit. You need to go to those credit bureaus. You need to go straight to them, to the horse's mouth. Know what's on there. Know what your scores are, because we live in a society where people can get your information. So number one, you want to make sure that nobody's stolen your credit, stolen your identity. Number two, you want to make sure that what's on there is supposed to be on there. So once we kind of talk about that, what they need to do as far as even being able to go check their credit, then we start talking about savings. We talk about some basic things that they need to have in order to be able to move forward. And then depending on where we are within that scenario, then I'll get them in touch with one of my good lenders that I use, which they also help with that process because my lenders can kind of help dive in a little bit further than what I can. And I work with a lot of great lenders that can will counsel clients and tell them what they need to do. They also have some programs that could potentially help them get to that point. So I'd have to say the biggest challenges are credit and savings that I run into a lot with some of my clients that are wanting to move forward with the home buying process. And just overcoming that, like I said, it's just the knowledge piece of that. Once they feel more comfortable, once they know what's going on, then we can have more in-depth conversations depending on their situation and their circumstances.
Do you find that a lot of times people are a little bit shy about discussing the specifics of their credit and their issues and their family dynamics and all the things that can kind of play into that?
Yeah, because it's personal. You know, you're dealing with finances, and anytime you're dealing with finances, you feel a certain way because you feel like you're coming in a little bit behind the eight ball, so to speak. Um, so yeah, some of those conversations can be a little bit difficult. But one of the things that I tell people is that I'm here to help you, you know, and I will work with you through every step of the way. I will do what I need to do. I've had clients that, you know, I've talked to them 2 years for 2 years to try to get them ready to purchase a home. And it's such a beautiful feeling like once we're able to like move forward and do that. So I let people know that it is attainable. You just have to do the work. I will follow up with you and I will do everything that I can do on my end, but ultimately, you have to do the work. If this is something that you're telling me you want, then you've got to do what it takes. And we've got resources out there that can help, you know, as far as people that might not be able to save as much money. There are still down payment assistance programs out there. There are still, you know, lenders that help and do certain things. So once I completely understand like what your package looks like or what your credit profile and you as a whole look like, then I can get you to the right people that will be able to help you. So the home buying is attainable and it is attainable for everybody. You just need to know what you need to do for your individual situation, and I'm here to help.
That's awesome. So a big part or a big topic that I should say that I think a lot of people in our communities are just now, for lack of a better word, getting hip to or finding to be important is the idea of protecting their legacy. And
Mm,
in both of our worlds, of course, I know we've dealt with that in different capacities. I help people protect their legacy by planning and making sure they have the right key players in place and the right plan in place. But a part of their legacy could be acquiring land. In some cases, losing land could also be a part of their legacy. So, talk to me a little bit about your experience with that, helping people build a legacy through real estate investing or just purchasing real estate. And then on the flip side, some of the negatives that you've seen where people have lost what could otherwise be a great legacy for their families down the road. Um,
mm.
because they, for lack of a better word, did something stupid or failed to do something.
Okay, so yeah, as far as building a legacy, within working with first time home buyers, sometimes I'm working with people who are the first time within their immediate family owning a home. So it's a lot on their shoulders, but it's also beneficial because now they're able to pass on the knowledge that they have to, you know, their children or to other members that are within their family. And so then we also not only talk about owning that home, but the benefits that go with that home as far as like tax breaks and things that they can get, being able to refinance if they have equity, being able to take that equity out of the home, being able to utilize that towards paying off debt, towards, you know, towards college for their children. So owning a home is so much more than just the property itself. And not only that, but if you plan to keep it within, a lot of people say this is going to be my forever home. If you're planning to do that, then you also have something that you can pass down to your children. So that's one step of it. The other step of it, working with a lot of first time home investors that are able to get out here and buy multiple properties. They've been blessed to do that, where they can either, flip it and just take the money straight out and be able to continue to kind of roll that into buying more properties, or they're buying properties to rent them out and have that residual income coming in. So that's also something that's helping them to kind of build wealth that they can continue to pass along to their children. So I've been blessed to see both ends of that spectrum. And I actually have a lot of repeat clients as well. I have some clients that have bought homes and now they're in a better financial situation. And now they're saying, hey, well, I'm able to buy another house and I want to rent this house out that I have. Help me. So that's the good thing about having that property management piece, because I can kind of do both. Um, Now, on the negative side, as far as losing homes, whew, I will say, by the grace of God, as far as I'm aware of, none of my specific clients have had that happen to them. But I have seen it happen. And one of the things that I try to counsel people is you don't want to be house poor. My job as a realtor is not to put you at that top of the price point if we don't have to go there, because I understand that there's more to just owning the home. You have to be able to pay for that home. Not only that, you no longer have a landlord, so anything that happens with that property falls on you. And so you don't want your money to all be tied up to just paying that mortgage. So those are some things that we kind of talk about. Your pre-approval is there and it's great. If we have to go to the top of the pre-approval, we do. If we don't, if we're able to find you something that still meets your requirements, that's cheaper, then I'm all about it, because I understand everything that goes into that buying process. And I find that sometimes, especially right now in this market, because it's such a competitive market,
Mm,
people are being forced to kind of, do a little bit more than they would have years ago. I still say that whatever it is has to be within reason for you and make sense for your particular situation. So we continue to have those conversations so that we don't get to the point where now you've been in a house for a couple of months and you just realize that this mortgage payment is too much for you. And now you're looking at potentially losing that home. We don't have as many programs out there like we used to have to help home buyers that are in the process of, getting behind on their mortgage. But I will say that a lot of institutions are still willing to help. So the first step would be to reach out to your lending or your financial institution who you have your mortgage with, and they can give you guidelines on what they can do for your particular situation. And then I'm still here. So if it comes down to that, I would much rather have my client reach out to me and let me know, hey, I'm having problems before, you're months behind, because every month that you're behind is a negative ding to your credit. So it's actually going to hurt you with trying to get something else. You can't even rent an apartment now if you don't have good credit.
right.
So we want to have those conversations as soon as you realize that there's something that's going on, so that I can help, so that I can, kind of counsel you on the next steps. And if it comes down to having to sell that home, the good thing is that we're still in a seller's market. So you're going to come out with some type of equity that could potentially help you. Help you pay down some debt, help you to, maybe get an apartment and rent until you can get to a better position to be able to purchase later on in the future.
That's awesome. Of course, a big thing for me on my end is trying to make sure that people who have homes understand that they have to have a solid plan in place to be able to pass it down. Lots of times, people talk about purchasing their forever home or having a home that is going to be their family home, but then they don't take that next step to actually ensure that their wishes are properly documented.
Mhm.
Um, One of the nastiest things that some of my clients have had to deal with is really having multiple owners, or what we call heir property,
Mm,
um, or what I also like to refer to, property owned by everybody and their mama.
yep.
So, what is, or what are some advice that you can lend to either individuals who are currently in that situation or could be in that situation? And add to that, if you've had experience with anyone in that situation, how did you help them kind of get out of it or navigate through it?
So from the beginning, we talk about how you want your deed to be written. That's very important, as you know. And I kind of let them talk to the closing attorney as to, exactly what they need, whether or not it's going to be, an individual purchasing. Do you want this to be able to pass down to your heirs? Like, how do you want your deed written so that the attorney knows? So that is one way from the beginning that you can just kind of offset that so that you don't have problems later on. Um, I have had it a couple of years ago where I had a client that reached out to me that was actually trying to sell their parents' home that had passed away. And because of the way the deed was written, every single person had to be able to sign off on the closing before it could happen. And what I mean by every single person was all of the children. So there was about 5 children that was involved, so they all had to sign off, including their spouses, in order for that sale to go through. And the sad thing about it was we were not able to get everybody on the same page to do that. So the home ultimately ended up going into foreclosure. And I did everything that I could do on my end as far as like being able to reach out to all the individuals, letting them know the benefits. You were going to walk away with some monies, but it just didn't work out. So, and I just felt so sad because it was a family's home. I felt so bad for them. So that's one of the downfalls of not really understanding how your deed is written and how you want that to go. And then, like you said, not reaching out to you, that can really help them get everything in alignment with a will or whatever else that looks like so that that type of thing doesn't happen.
It is really sad. And in a lot of cases, people are just like so emotionally connected to the situation that they're not really able to make logical decisions, right?
Mhm.
And then they lose what would otherwise be an amazing asset for their families because of technicalities.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, that relationships change, You
Right.
might have a good relationship when you're younger, but then as an adult, sometimes things happen. And I find that lack of communication or that breakdown, or when the person that's like the glue to the family passes away,
Mm.
that's really when you start running into a lot of those issues. When that one person that was just able to hold everything together is no longer here, and so now everybody's just kind of left to their own devices. And sometimes you can bring people together and sometimes you can't. Not everybody, especially what I see in this line of business, not everybody is able to look at the bigger picture. It's a lot of selfishness out there. So you kind of want to circumvent that as much as you can.
That's key. There is a lot of selfishness out there, and a lot of times people think that their loved ones kind of know what they want or kind of know how they want things played out, and they're always going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But that's obviously not always the case at all.
No,
We've probably both seen it.
I have. Sadly, I have.
So, to close, what would you tell individuals who want to kind of use real estate to build their legacy, be it through investing or I don't know what other avenues there are because this is not my area. So, someone who said, "Hey, I know real estate is a solid thing that's going to continue to grow, and even if it crashes, we know it's going to go back up." What would you say they could do to kind of get in the game or to get themselves better prepared to play in this market?
Yeah, so of course, the first step is just a conversation. We'll sit down and we'll talk about what their situation looks like. It goes back to, okay, where are we credit wise? Where are we financially? Are we able to, do the things that you're wanting to do? And then if not, how can we set you up in order to get there? I mean, that's really what that boils down to. A lot of times I'm the first line, the first person that people talk to. Then once we kind of gauge where you are, then I get you in touch with the proper lender in order to be able to help you attain that. So if you're a first time home buyer, I'm going to put you in with some really good first time home buyer lenders. If you're an investor, depending on what type of investor you want to be, we have those conversations. Are you the type of investor that's looking to buy and hold? Are you looking to fix and flip? Like, what does that look like for you? And then what does that look like financially? Are we able to do that with a loan? Are we able to do that with cash? If you're that investor that's looking to, purchase and flip, do we need to get you in touch with a hard money lender? So it really just kind of depends on the person's what their strategy and what they're trying to do as to the next steps and what I do to get them prepared.
Awesome. So, Octavia, please tell us, how do we get in touch with you? How do we connect with Arthur Realty? And recap again, what are some of the things that you can assist us with in terms of home buying and also creating and protecting our legacies through real estate?
Okay. So, of course, you can Google me, which is what a lot of people do. I get a lot of calls from Google. You can Google me. I have my website, arthurrealtyllc.com. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube. And LinkedIn. So you can find me on those channels, either through my name or through Arthur Realty. And so I would just say, as far as what you need to do, as far as purchasing real estate, just give me a call and we'll talk about your situation, because it definitely is still a good time. I know there's still some hesitation with some buyers out there because they're kind of hearing through the grapevine as far as some of the difficulties that can come from purchasing right now. But no matter what, like you said, real estate is always going to be a good investment, because it's something that is going to take you through time. So just give me a call or email me, text me, whatever, and we'll connect in order to just kind of talk about what it is that can work for your individual situation.
Awesome. Okay, I do have one other question. I know I said that that was to close, but I do have one other because I know that
Okay.
people who want to know this. So there are lots of millennials out there who haven't purchased homes before and they're looking at the housing market steadily going up and up and up. And they're like, when is it going to be our turn? When are we going to be able to afford what used to be a $250,000 house that's now a $500,000 house? Do you think it's going to keep, of course you can't really predict, but in your opinion and just seeing how the market flows, is there hope?
So there's always hope.
Probably too late.
We keep that hope, right? um my biggest thing is don't get discouraged. Right now it's an inventory shortage. That's really the problem. It's an inventory shortage. So if we're able to, kind of catch up inventory wise, then we could potentially see some things, happening. But until that happens, unless God forbid the market just crashes, and knock on wood, because we don't want that to happen for 401k or stocks.
Right.
But unless something else drastically happens, I don't see us getting out of this for a while.
Mm. So
Yeah.
get your coins together, get your credit right, put your savings up, and
Yes.
be prepared to pay a pretty penny to own a piece of it. estate, at least for the foreseeable future.
Well, or be open. Like I tell clients, you can't box yourself in. You can't just say, "Oh, I just want to live in this particular zip code." You've got to be open. You've got to be open to going to some of the surrounding areas. And I'll just use Charlotte because I'm in Charlotte. You've got to be open to going to some of the surrounding areas. A lot of these areas that are right here in Charlotte have seen a huge boost because Charlotte right now as a whole is just so expensive to live in. So you've got to be open, and you also have to be open to the type of home that you're looking for. And I get it, as a buyer, you kind of sometimes you get tunnel vision. You think this is what I want. But like I tell some clients, once we actually get out there and we start looking at properties, some things that you thought were really important might not necessarily be important. So Kate, so I'll use an example. So if I have a client that's like, oh, I want a really, big closet and I want all the bells and whistles, but then we go look at a house that has a really big closet, but yet it has a teeny tiny kitchen and the rooms aren't functional, then now you start to have that paradigm shift where, okay, well, I am home, I am cooking a little bit more, I am going to have gatherings, so maybe this huge closet isn't as big of a factor as I thought it was. I think I might want to shift to something that's going to be a little bit more functional for me or functional for my family. So that's just a part of us having those open, honest discussions while we're before we purchase, and then also while we're out there looking to purchase, um, because you have to remain open, and especially in this market, the more open you are and the more flexible you are, the better it's going to be for you, honestly.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Thank you so much, Octavia. I greatly appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your insight, and thank you for all you do to educate our community. We desperately need it because we need to maintain and grow. So, thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you as well. Thank you for all that you do, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of this great project.
Awesome. All right. Well, have a fabulous day, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. You as well. Have a great one.
All right. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.